Hi friends, it's me, host Eric, on a bad mic to talk to you today with my blue tongue from these Rollies I just ate about Self-Help Lounge and how he's right, sort of, okay, and what it informs us about. So, Self-Help Lounge is correct that I have said bad shit about ESFPs, or TI polar people in general, many times in the past, and that is bad of me and wrong of me to do. But the reason I didn't listen to him is because he's wrong as to why. um, Fundamentally, this is an NS thing. It's not TI. It doesn't really have anything to do with TI. The reason I'm wrong is because I'm being assaulted with N at S. I'm saying it's not a problem with Joe because, and the reason it's wrong is, in fact, it is a problem with Joe. Because while it's true that Joe's offending me in my expectations with his ill-placed rendering of argumentation using a kind of deliberation that's not appropriate for this kind of thing, it's not true that every TI polar person, or even most of them, do that. So, in fact, Joe is the exception among ESFPs, ENFPs, not the rule. And it is wrong, therefore, for me to say ascribe this thing to ESFPs or ENFPs or TI polar. In fact, it's ascribed best to those individuals who are the outliers among ESFPs and ENFPs in their abusively using their preferred deliberation function in a place where it clearly doesn't belong. Generally speaking, people who are experts in their 1-2 functions, more or less, also have expertise as to where it works well, where it's appropriately utilized. So, in that regard, he's right. I shouldn't be saying shit about TI polar, ENFPs, ESFPs. I need to be making the distinction I was just making. The reason I didn't listen to him is because he didn't make the distinction I was just making. But, of course, the reason he didn't make the distinction that I just made is because he's not an ENTP. Now, in this case, it is a function thing. It's like, the reason he's not explaining it to me is because that's my job, not his job, right? It's what I'm paying attention to. The reason he's not able to articulate justifications that cause me to listen to him is because he's not paying attention to being right about in that kind of a way. He's paying attention to being right in another way that doesn't communicate well with me because I don't listen to things because I'm a me, unfortunately, and I have my limitations and deficits. So anyway, where was I going with this whole thing? I had this one thing I wanted to say more than anything else, which was which is this. Oh, right. The NS thing is a pretty critical battlefield, and it's really the battlefield between the general rule, or the set, I say the species versus the individual. So Rachel and I were talking earlier about how at one time Rachel ate some cereal at my dad's and used some of his milk when we weren't supposed to, and she got scolded and stuff. And we were just talking about it abstractly. It's easy for us to imagine someone responding to that by saying, "Well, why is he getting so upset about such a teeny little thing like that?" But the reason is because it's this. Everybody always gets upset for exactly the same reason. Some third parties fucked with their expectations in an area that they pay attention to, expectations. So it may be the case that Rachel and I don't spend a lot of our attention on how much milk there's left in the jug and how many pieces of cereal or what's in the box or whatever. We might think those things are boring to pay attention to. But we do get the idea of when somebody else fucks with our expectations that we don't like that, right? So this happens with Self-Help Lounge and me here is I'm expecting somebody to be reasonable in their attacks of me. So when he accuses me of cultivating bullying or generally bullying, I get that I'm guilty of wrongdoings like that. I'm not perfect, you know. I'm getting better continually over time in terms of understanding what matters more clearly still. But I don't think that. I think that if somebody's going to accuse me of being a bully in some fashion, that they need to additionally do a self-accounting. If they're going to hold me accountable, they need to hold themselves accountable against the same metric. What Self-Help Lounge is saying is he expects people to be responsible in not saying mean things that somebody genuinely doesn't deserve. So it's a strict guilty, not guilty until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt kind of standard for meanness, right? That in fact, my label abuse there of attributing to a category of thing was actually an example of a deviant individual from that category. One that deviates from the norm of it. I mean, not deviant in some sort of weird way, but in a statistics sense. That's wrong and stuff. He expects me to do either one of those two things very reasonably. Either to be nice, err on the side of niceness, or to be absolutely perfectly right all the time. And that's a perfectly reasonable expectation to have. And his critique of me when I'm not right and doing damage is appropriate. Of course, and this is the beauty of cognitive functions. I need him to realize what only I can explain. Isn't that great? I can't realize it without his horribly ham-fisted attempt at explaining it to me, which necessitates, because it offends my expectations that explanations be sensible, to then sensibly explain it. Isn't that fantastic? This is why the cognitive functions of the metaframe, because you can always collapse everything down into the prime directive, close the gap between expectations and realities, or your map and your experience. And so that's what I'm trying. I keep saying, well, okay, look, we can collectively close the gap. It benefits everybody if you have the proper map on the biggest level. At least you won't make catastrophically bad decisions that impact everybody. So the real personal reasons as to why there's this conflict that you might want to argue psychologically is that I am displaying some frustration because I had instilled into me an expectation that being smart would lead to something good. That it was to be valued a great deal, and that it correlated with success, and essentially that it caused success. Of course, being smart does not cause success. Being successful causes success. And the reason why I'm fucked up by how people use the word smart, and Self-Help Lounge is fucked up by how people use the word smart, because he feels dumb and I feel betrayed. The fact is, I just made a joke with Rachel earlier, the sort that plenty of people will be offended by, which is, see, regarding the expectations and stuff, sensors are just like intuitives, just dumb. Except, the hilarious thing about it is, but who's the dumb one? The sensor with the mansion, or his fuck-up kid living in his dad's back house? So, yeah, the fact is, I'm way smarter than my dad, so I feel betrayed. And my dad's way more effective than me. So if he were an ESFP, I might make him feel dumb, but he's not going to come across that ever, unless he's the deviant kind of ESFP who goes and uses where his stuff that should be successful in its own area, in the area where it's totally unsuccessful. He's the obviously not the one that's consistent with the norm of the type. He's the one that's inconsistent because of some sort of damage. So anyway, the point is, self-help lounge, the reason you feel dumb is because nobody accepted or nobody understood or nobody knew correctly had mapped for them the distinctions of TI and TE, and the fact that we need two different words. Being intelligent with words and reasoning and creative intuition stuff is one kind of, it deserves the word smart. The reason it deserves the word smart is because it's not successful. Usually you get what you pay your attention to, right? Since I pay all my attention to being smart, that's what I get. Since my dad pays all his attention to being successful, that's what he gets. And since Self-Help Lounge pays all his attention to being nice, well, he's the most virtuous of all, and that's why he incurs this fantastic reward. The end. Rachel, you got anything to add, or somebody just
No, I think that was great.
All right, thank you, and thank you for watching.